Hey guys, going back to the superhero movie thing here, I wanted to talk about the movies Daredevil and Elektra. So, if you've seen all my DVD and Blu-ray videos, you would know that I've had every edition of Daredevil on DVD along with the Blu-ray, but I have since gotten rid of the director's cut on DVD because the Blu-ray has the director's cut on there along with all of its extras, and it also has the extras on disc 2 of the theatrical cut DVD, but I still keep the theatrical cut because that cut of the movie is vastly different from the director's cut and it has its own separate commentary track, so can't get rid of it. And there's also reasons that I prefer the theatrical cut, even though in some ways I also prefer the director's cut. So as you can probably guess, with how I feel about Daredevil, I liked the movie. The effect was somewhat ruined for me because I had done a lot of looking up related to stuff about this movie, so I knew the entire plot beforehand, but ultimately I didn't really mind that because this was pretty much, I think, the first movie that really affected me in multiple ways that I can recall. I saw this sophomore year of high school. What I mean by that is, it basically made me feel the vast majority of emotions possible whilst watching a movie because, there were many instances where I laughed, there were many instances where I felt like crying, where I felt sad for various cast members, where I felt happy for various people, where I winced when, a major character in the movie was injured, because for instance when Elektra got that scythe through her hand, I winced at that. And then when Daredevil threw Bullseye out the window, I winced at that, because I wasn't used to feeling that kind of thing. So you get the idea. And also, this was the first superhero movie I saw where I actually cared for the couple that was occurring in this movie. Because, okay, before I saw this movie, I had seen Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, all of the Burton Schumacher movies, and all the Superman movies released up to that point, but I didn't remember too much from them, and also, even though I wanted the superhero to get with the love interest, oh yeah, and I'd seen the Spider-Man trilogy, I really only wanted him to be together with the love interest because I knew that's what I was supposed to feel. I didn't really feel that myself, but this, possibly because I knew it doesn't work out, I really fell for this couple because the chemistry that Affleck and Garner had in this movie was just great. All those tender or dramatic moments between them, both in civilian identities and superhero identities, it was just amazing what they did in here. Wow. If you didn't feel this way, well, I can't really explain it more than that. It just did a lot for me. But, so now that I've talked about the relationship between Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner, how do I feel about all the characters and actors in this movie? I feel like every character was acted great. Affleck, he did actually pretty well as Matt Murdock in Daredevil, although his Daredevil lines are kind of really not that great, and it's how he acts as Matt Murdock, but I felt like he acted great. He was witty when he needed to be. He was stone cold when he needed to be, and I also like how he gives Matt Murdock a younger feel than he did in the comics, because this Matt Murdock, you get the idea, is probably, I'm just gonna throw out 30, whereas in the comics that I have read, at least, you feel like he's at least 40, you know? Jon Favreau as Foggy, I loved that portrayal because you really liked Foggy, whereas in the comics I never really liked him. Colin Farrell as Bullseye, you get the idea that there's menace from him, but unfortunately they execute his scenes wrongly. But ironically, the novelization of this movie, which I own and read, does it perfectly, because, okay, hear me out. The movie structures Bullseye's scenes, I'm talking about the director's cut here, as the bar scene first, then he gets on the airport, then he's on the airplane, Then you see him throwing a pen into Frank Miller's head, and then you see him kill Elektra's father. The novelization moves the bar scene to be the third scene, so you actually first get introduced to Bullseye at the airport, then the airplane, then the bar scene, throwing a pen into Frank Miller's head, and then killing Elektra's father. That's a much better way to do it, because you notice that he doesn't put his hat back on after the bar scene, you know? Yo! It wasn't until I read the novelization that I realized that error. But yeah, I got minutes from him, and then Michael Clark Duncan as the Kingpin, that's pretty good, and I actually prefer the fact that he's black in here, because I don't know if it's the fact that I'm white, but I honestly find big, strong black guy a lot scarier than big, strong white guy. I don't know why. I just think that was a good move. Okay. And how do I feel about the plot of this movie? Well, in its way, it is kind of dark, especially the director's cut, but in many other ways, it is kind of simple for a superhero movie, although, I think if you see a movie more than once, a lot of the plot's impact will leave you, and you'll feel like it is kind of simple. I feel that way with tons of superhero movies out there, even though I still give them good pros with how they do it, but it's more style rather than, story, if you know what I mean. So, I think that's pretty much everything I like about the movie. So, what do I not like about the movie? Because I gotta really touch upon this. Well, yeah, I'll freely admit that the theatrical cut does have its problems, because how the cops suddenly show up at the Kingpin's side, that really isn't that good. Also, Ben Urich deleting his story about Daredevil. Why does he do that? And then there was the question of, would the superhero actually stay with the love interest, even though I prefer that scene for some reasons, although I will admit where he leaves Elektra, that does fit better in terms of continuity, let me tell you. And the fact that we don't get some of the better scenes with Mad, Kingpin, and Bullseye, because that airport scene really is a good scene with Bullseye. But that's not to say that the director's cut is perfect either, because, like, the bits where, they reference that Matt's mother is Catholic and how they handle the priest in the director's cut, it's not really that good, because I don't think you would get the reference with Matt's mother unless you listen to the commentary, or I've read the comics. I really didn't know that, I just learned that from the commentary. And, how they handle the priest in the director's cut, it's not that good, because in the director's cut, the priest is just a random guy for most of the scene, but still knows Matt is Daredevil, so yeah, because you delete those confession scenes, it makes not only the priest worthless in here, it also makes the fact that Daredevil kills the bad guys he comes across a lot less meaningful, and all the I'm not the bad guy thing, the confessionals really help that, okay? You know? And then also, there are some scenes there that really stretch out the movie, because, for instance, let's just use a random example. Matt's father walking down the, hallways to the arena, deciding on whether or not he should betray everything he has told his son, or, throw his life away to remind his son to never give up. I mean, like, the thought process behind the scene is good, but that scene really stretches it out. I honestly think the quicker decision, well, it's actually Matt that convinces him to go down his path, is a lot better. And let me tell you, the way Matt's father died in here, yeah, I knew he cried. Same thing when, Elektra died. Okay, so, oh yeah, and, actually, one other thing to mention about one thing that I prefer in the theatrical cut that's better than the director's cut, okay? I actually prefer that it's, Urich who, tells, Matt that Elektra is in danger, because I just feel like that's a better reveal that he knows Matt is Daredevil, you know? I mean, like, you still could have done it so Urek tells Matt, you're Daredevil, but your girl's in danger, and then still have him struggle with his journalism thing. I don't know, it has been a while since I've seen either cut of the movie, so some of you will try and argue me wrong, I think, and you have just reason to do so, for what I just stated, okay? So ultimately, neither cut of this movie is perfect, but the movie did a lot for me, and is an interesting thing to discuss in the superhero film genre, you know? So what am I going to rate this? I'm honestly going to go for just the simple route to go with 4 and just leave it at that, okay? Well, that went on a little longer than I wanted, so how do I feel about Elektra real fast? I didn't dislike it as much as most people out there seem to do so, because I was interested in what Jennifer Garner was doing, and the mythos that they introduced, even though they feel out of place with Daredevil, were kind of interesting. And all the bonding moments that she has with Abby, even though they aren't the best, they were fairly well executed, and the fight seems okay. And the scenery, yeah, but you can tell that this is really a cash grab movie. It doesn't really fit in with the Daredevil universe, especially since they cut out Elektra's dream scene with Daredevil, which they really should have left in there. What else? And you can tell that the tone is totally different. Daredevil's dark, drama. This is more fantasy action. And the biggest issue I have with the movie, Stick and a whole bunch of warriors showing up when Elektra and Abby are about to be killed in that field. And then also Abby just happens to show up when the main bad guy is about to get the upper hand on Elektra. Really? Huh? Stupid. And also, even though I'm gonna definitely get bitched at for this, why didn't Abby's father die in this movie? Because I think that this movie would have been a heck of a lot better if he had died, you know? Because not only would that have heightened the bond between Elektra and Abby a lot more, it would also get rid of the confliction of that in Daredevil. She's in love with Matt, and in this movie she knows he still exists, but is suddenly falling in love with Abby's father? Huh? So, free personally to critique. I think that's the best way to do it, but I didn't hate it as much as most people did. Will I pick it up? Maybe. If I see it for like $5, yeah. Okay, so got a couple more superhero movies out of the way. See you next time.